Welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur. We are learning Amud Yomi and Maseches Shabbos with the cycle of the Dirshu. Thank you to everybody who came, and thank you to everybody who watches us at home. We are now still in the sugya of Chanukah, but it Chavbeis Amud Beis towards the bottom of the page. The Gemara takes a break from the Chanukah sugyas and explains something from the Mishnah. Velo b'shemen sreifa. Velo b'shemen sreifa. We said in the Mishnah that one of the oils you're not allowed to use for your Shabbos candles is called shemen sreifa. And the question is, what does it mean, like oil that's for burning, for sreifa? Fragt the Gemara, "Mai shemen sreifa?" What does it mean, shemen sreifa? Omar Rabba, shemen shel truma shenitmea. It's an oil of truma. Truma, if you have oil, for example, olive oil that became tomeh, touched by a dead person, sheret, nida, zava, whatever, the shemen is tomeh. So what can you do with it? The only people allowed to use shemen anyways of truma are koyanim. Once truma is tomeh, you're not allowed to consume it by eating it or using it, put it in salad. You are allowed to burn it. As the Gemara will explain later on, it says mishmeres trumo isai, two trumas, either tohora or tmeya. A tohora you eat, and a tmeya you're allowed to enjoy it while it's burning as candle, as fuel for your candle, for your light. However, you have to make sure that it goes out without you taking some. You want to make sure that the shemen truma will burn without you running the risk of anything left over you may come to eat. Take some pita and chaparine, and that's why shemen shel truma you're allowed to benefit while it's burning. Just make sure that it really burns and not that it's going to be nothing should be left over. Also, as I told you yesterday, there's also similarity between kodshim and truma. Just like kodshim, sometimes you have to burn. It's a mitzvah to burn them. It's a mitzvah to burn the truma tmeah. So if you have truma tmeah in your house and you're Kohen, you make sure that it burns, it goes out. So now, v'amai karo l'shemen sreifa. Why is shemen of truma tmeah is called shemen sreifa? Oil v'lesreifa oimed. Because the only thing you can do with it is burn it. And therefore it's called the oil that's for burning, because there is nothing else you're halachically allowed to do with that except for burning and enjoying the light. All very nice, but frag the Gemara in the second wide line, Ubeshabbos my time Eloi. Why is it that in Shabbos you're not allowed to be in the hand from it? Why not? What's wrong? It burns very nicely. It's not going to flicker like the other ones. Says the Gemara, mitoch shemitzvah olav levaroi gzero shemeyate. Because it's a mitzvah on the kohen to make sure it goes out ASAP, and the person is concerned, if I have shemen left over, my wife and kids, or even me by mistake, would take some. Therefore, there's a chashash, you want to rush it so much, you may come to tilt it in order to hasten the process and make it quicker. Amar la'Abaye, all very nice, but here comes another question regarding Yom Tov. Ela me'ata, according to what you're saying, Rabbah, me'ata b'Yom Tov lishtari. Oh, we never spoke yet about Neres Yom Tov. I want you guys to tell me. A Ner that doesn't light very nicely on Yom Tov, yeah? If the chashash is that I come to tilt it, then what? There's no problem in Yom Tov, right? Because in Yom Tov, you're allowed to increase the fire. You're allowed to add fire. And here, all of a sudden, we're saying that on Yom Tov, it should be okay to use that shemen on Yom Tov, because even if I tilt it, okay, let me tilt it, who cares? Alamat Nan, why does it say third wide line? Ein madlikin b'shemen sreifa b'Yom Tov. Why? Why is it you're not allowed to light b'shemen sreifa on Yom Tov? What's wrong? Right? Why shouldn't you? So we answer, Gzeira Yom Tov atu Shabbos. In other words, don't light the shemen of what? Of sreifa, of truma tmeah on Yom Tov, because if you do it on Yom Tov, you may come to do it on Shabbos. That creates many questions, and this is, by the way, the Tosfos that has so many yesodis in one Tosfos. It's insane. One yesod, Tosfos asks the obvious question: why isn't Gzera l'Gzera? Yom Tov atu Shabbos. Shabbos itself, because maybe I'll come to tilt, right? So Gzera Yom Tov atu Shabbos. The chor should be Gzera l'Gzera. Very good, because we said it's about it. That's yesod. Here, that's what Tosfos says it. Yeah. In other words, right? So then, Lamaise, Tosis says he may come, that's kilo in immediate chash. Although Tosis does say that here you can't say the answer, because here it doesn't flicker. You hear Akiva? Here, Tosis' answer doesn't work, because when it really flickers and drives you crazy, then you may tilt it without noticing. But if it's because of your being a super froom and you're tilting it because of the mitzvah, that we're not sure you're going to do so quickly. It's not an instinct. So Tosfos gives another answer. The answer is right, but here Tosfos builds up another answer, and he says, you know, it's not gzera l'gzera. Yom Tov and Shabbos are one. That's what he says. Yom Tov and Shabbos like one unit. We don't view it as gzera l'gzera. It's like Shabbos and Yom Tov. It's one thing. Also, Tosfos asks another question that there are other places where we do not make gzera from Yom Tov to Shabbos. So Tosfos says the big yesod ein lahashvas gzera shel chachomim zu lezu. Chachamim sometimes, especially in Shabbos, you see they're much more machmir in one area and not in the other one. She'ena b'melocha achas. If it's not the same melocha, same area, sometimes Chachamim much more machmir than the other. Mishnah Berurah brings it down. That's an interesting yesod. Now let's continue. Rav Chizda Omar. Rav Chizda gives a second answer, a different answer. L'shem hayate lo chayshinan. Really, we're not concerned about shem hayate. Yeah, we don't think that the kohen will be so nervous and will start tilting it. Ela hocha. Yom Tov shechal yos b'Shabbos askinan. He's making a very big ukimta. He's saying, you know why our Mishnah said not to light the shemen sreifa of Truma? Because we're talking here about, listen to this, Friday, which is a Yom Tov. That happens many times. For example, comes to mind the second day of Rosh Hashanah. Can be on Friday, the second day of Rosh Hashanah. So when does your wife light the candles? Well, obviously before Shabbos, before Yom Tov, on Friday, right? Some Reform people are like, on Shabbos. That's why it's said. So now what happens? Wait, she's lighting her Shabbos candles on Yom Tov, which is Friday. So what's wrong? Lefi she'en sofin kodshim b'Yom Tov. There's a special halacha which we will learn in 2 days' time, I think, or tomorrow. We're going to learn that later. That you're not allowed to burn kodshim on Yom Tov. Let's say you have a noisar. You have kodshim that you have to burn as a mitzvah, leftover kodshim. There's a special pasuk that tells you on Yom Tov you're not allowed to do that. And as I told you before, Trum and Kodshim are similar. And therefore, because this Friday mentioned in the Mishnah happens to be a Yom Tov, that's why you're not allowed to burn the Shemen Trum Tmeah. Not because you'll come to tilt it, but simply because you're not allowed to burn Kodshim or Truma on Yom Tov. It's a very, very big ukimta. That this part of the Mishnah, not the whole Mishnah, this part of the Mishnah talks about Erev Shabbos, which happens to be Yom Tov. It's a Yom Tov and Friday. Happens. Okay. Frag the Gemara, wait a second. Besides the fact it's an ukimta, there's another problem. In the next Mishnah, we're going to meet the words, Ein madlikin l'shemen seifa b'Yom Tov. You want to talk about Yom Tov? The next Mishnah tells us you don't light in shemen seifa, which is Truma, on Yom Tov. Michlal, that is to say, the Reish Alav b'Yom Tov askinan. If the Sefer is talking about Yom Tov, mashma the Reisha spoke about Shabbos. Otherwise, the Mishnah is repetitive, right? Why is the Mishnah saying the same thing twice, one Mishnah after the other? Answers the Gemara, Omar b'chnina misura, matam ka'omar. No, the second Mishnah explains the reason for the first one. The second Mishnah enlightens us helps us understand the first one. Matam ein madlikin l'shemen sreifa b'Yom Tov, lefi shen sofin kodshim b'Yom Tov, which means the first Mishnah in Hanami didn't clearly talk about Yom Tov. It just said Erev Shabbos. What I would say means Erev Shabbos. Comes the second Mishnah and is qualifying what the first Mishnah said. You should know, yeah, you saw that end of Mishnah over there that says En Sofim Kodshim, Truma, Shemen Sreifa, which is Truma and Erev Shabbos. It's only because of Yom Tov, meaning the only reason why on Friday I'd have an issue with lighting the candles Truma Tmeah is, says the second Mishnah, that the first one really only meant Yom Tov of a Friday. Because in Yom Tov, you're not allowed to burn a Truma Tmeah. It's like burning Kodshim. That will be explained in the second Mishnah, I promise. I think Rav David will do that, I think. Yeah, and that is tomorrow's business. Now, Tanya Kavosed of Chizda. So we have two opinions. Let's just summarize the two opinions. Shemen Sreifa is Shemen of Truma Tmeah. One, why wouldn't you do it? Because you're a Kohen, Yira Shamayim, you're nervous, Truma Tmeah, get it out of the way, quick, before my 3 years old starts, whatever, yeah? So you may come to tilt it, it's a problem. Second answer, nothing to do with that. Simply, it's a Friday, which is Yom Tov, Yom Tov, you're not allowed to burn kochim, which is also truma. Not the same. Just like you can't burn kochim, so too you're not allowed to burn truma tmeya on Yom Tov. And we're talking about Friday Yom Tov, and that's Eser. Needless to say, just to clarify clearly, the other parts of the Mishnah surely spoke about every Shabbos. The candles that flicker and drive you nuts, of course, that applies to every Shabbos, not just Yom Tov. Here comes the brisa that supports Rav Chizda. Kol elu she'omu en madliken ben b'Shabbos, madliken ben b'Yom Tov. All candles that are just bad quality and they flicker and they're in and out on Shabbos, no. On Yom Tov, yes. I mean, it's not such great on Yom Tov. You'll tilt it, you'll play with it. Bevakasha. On Yom Tov, you're allowed to increase the fire. Chutz mishemen sreifa. The only exception is shemen sreifa. I'm sorry. Which lefi shein sof in kodshim b'Yom Tov. As shemen sreifa, as Tosfos points out, shemen sreifa you are yes allowed to use on Shabbos and a regular Friday for Shabbos candles. It burns very nicely. And we're not concerned with tilting. On Shabbos that's allowed, and on Yom Tov it's not. The fish and sof in kochim Yom Tov. It's the only oil, where Yom Tov is more chomer than Shabbos. Get what I'm saying? Normally Shabbos, all the chumers are in Shabbos. You have bad oil, all the zefes, itran, all the bad ones. Shabbos no, Yom Tov yes. Shemen sreifa is the other way around. On Shabbos you're allowed to use it because it's very nice olive oil, top quality. Truma tmeya. So what? On Yom Tov you can't use it because it's a special gzeras hakosuv not to burn truma tmeya on Yom Tov itself. Weiter. Iboilu. Now we come weiter. Here we're back to Chanukah, but as I told you, Chavdalad Amud Aleph, the halachas from now on, the entire page is going to be about tefillah, about the Hanisim and other editions that we have on Yom Tov or Chanukah, Rosh Chodesh, etc. Today the issue is tefillah. Ha'isofis betfillah, all the extra inserts. Iboilu, question. Ma lahazkir shel Chanukah bebirkas hamazon. Are you supposed to say Al Hanisim in Birkas Hamazon? Yes or no? Don't tell me yes, because the Gemara doesn't know it yet. Yeah. So now, Kevan, do we say the Gemara is deliberating? On one hand, Kevan de Darabonon hu loimed kerinan, which means because Chanukah is a Darabonon invention, they never established to say Al Hanisim in Birkas Hamazon. Question, Rabbi. What about Tefillah? Birkas Hamazon? Did we ever say that in Tefillah you have to say Al Hanisim? Says Rashi, yes. If you remember, in the very famous Gemara in Daf Chaf Aleph Amud Beis, at the end, we said, My Chanukah, says Rashi, Al Ezenes Tiknua, and then we said, Tiknua Yomim Tovim Behalal V'Hoido. Says Rashi, the whole essence of Chanukah, Kula Milse de Chanukah, Ikor Loido Nitkeno. The whole idea of Chanukah is for Hoido. So for sure, for davening, of course you have to. The whole idea of Chanukah is to thank Hashem. Of course, in Shmoneh Esrei they established it, but Birkas Hamazon is a question. Tosfos adds an unbelievable thing. I think it's Tosfos or other Rishonim, and Tosfos says, but Tefillah, of course you have to mention. That's B'tzibur, Pirus Hamanes. When it's the Ganze Tzibur, 500 people davening together by the Rebbe, or the Shliach Tzibur, and all that, it's Pirus Hamanes. When I'm davening Birkas Hamazon inside the Siddur for myself, who's going to hear me? It's at home. That's not so Pirus Hamanes. Maybe then we're not metakin. Yeah, it's not so famous and glorious, Birkas Hamazon. It's not done in public, and therefore maybe they were not metakin. It's not such a Pirus Hamanes. It's a question. Oy Dilma, or funnily enough, Mishum Pirus Hamanesim ad Kerina. No, maybe you do have to mention it Birkas Hamazon. Yes, because of Pirus Hamanes. Pirus Hamanes is also for who? Bnei Bayis. Pirus Hamanes is also for your family. Yeah, I'm adding a little bit of a point here. Yeah. In other words, at the end of the day, Pirus Hamanes, you know they say, if somebody has no family, let me ask you a question. Ask a question. Today I'm asking the questions. If you, chas v'shalom, person lo leinu, there are such people in the neighborhood, he lives alone, and let's say he lives in, not in Ramat Shemesh, he lives alone, a Yiddish person in Tokyo. There are no Jews, no family, no nobody. Does he light candles? Who is Pirus Hamanes? Says the Mishnah Berurah, I remember that Mishnah Berurah vaguely, but so, la'atzmai. You refer him to yourself, you have to watch the commercial. You watch the advertisement yourself. There is such a nekuda to make it clear for yourself and announce for yourself. So mele birkas hamazon, because Pirus Hamanes is so choshu. Maybe you should mention it. That's a question, yes or no? Omar Rove, Omar Rav Zchoira, Omar Rav Huna, Eino Mazkir. Eino Mazkir doesn't mean not allowed to. You don't have to, says Rashi. You're not committed. You're not obligated. If you do mention it in Birkas Hamazon, if you choose to yes mention it, you mention it in the second bracha, which is Noida L'cha Hashem Elokeinu Ala Oretz, then you mention it. Because again, Chanukah is always attached to Haidah, to saying thank you, and the second bracha of Birkas Hamazon is Noida L'cha, that if you mention, that's the right place to mention. Now, the Gemara is going to debate that point. Rav Huna bar Yuda ikla lebei Rove. Rav Huna bar Yuda came to visit Rove in Rove's house. He thought to mention it in Bnei Yerushalayim. Why did he think to mention it in Bnei Yerushalayim? Because it's like Yaaleh VeYavo, right? Before Bnei Yerushalayim, that's when you had, let's say, you had Yaaleh VeYavo, so maybe that's also the place for all the inserts. Maybe it's like the Shema Tefillah, that's where you put all the baggage, right? Maybe that's the place to also put the Haidah of Hanisim. Amel Rav Sheshes, no, Ketfila. We compare benching to Tefillah, Mat Tefillah b'Haidah, just like everybody knows that Al Hanisim is mentioned where Dafka in Moedim, because the essence is Haidah of the Al Hanisim, at Birkas Hamazon b'Haidah, Birkas Hamazon b'Haidah. Lamaisa, that's a maskana of the Gemara. If you read the Gemara, it sounds like you're not mechuyev to mention, but if you want, you mention it in Haidah L'cha. Again, not a halacha here, but we all know that l'chatchila you should say Al Hanisim. But if you forgot and really forgot, you missed all the stops and you bench the whole benching without Al Hanisim, you don't have to go back and bench again. You don't have to return and bench. No, because there's also no chiyuv to eat then. That's a parameter. Only in the studio you mechuyev to eat halachically. You mechuyev to go back if you didn't say the addition. But Chanukah, there's no chiyuv to eat. On Purim, there's a question. On Purim, I know there's the nidon. There's a question in the poskim. I don't remember the halacha l'maisa. Yeah. Because Purim, there is a chiyuv to Suda more than Chanukah. Chanukah, it's a nice thing, mitzvah, but it's not a chiyuv mamash to Suda on Chanukah. Iboilu. Now we're continuing on more inserts, more additions. Iboilu. Another question. Ma lahazki Rosh Chodesh b'Birkas Hamazon. Am I supposed to say Yaaleh VeYavo on Rosh Chodesh in Birkas Hamazon? Yaaleh VeYavo, I say in Shmoneh Esrei. I say it when, let's say, am I mechuyev also in Birkas Hamazon? Since we spoke about Chanukah, you soon see the connection between Chanukah and Rosh Chodesh. And the Gemara is going to right now say, Im timtzi lo imar b'Chanukah, derabanan lo yitzorich. Even if you want to tell me in Chanukah, I'm not supposed to, not mechuyev, to mention Al Hanisim in benching, Rabbanon, they low-key mitzvah, so to speak, they're not mechayev you. Rosh Chodesh d'oraisa, tzorich. Rosh Chodesh is more than Chanukah. Rosh Chodesh is mentioned in the Torah. The korbanos you bring, mustafim, seir lechatos. Rosh Chodesh is very d'oraisa idea. Chodesh is lochem, so you have to. Ideal, it's more than Chanukah. Ideal or maybe came in the law also b'siyas melacha lo mezkerinan, or maybe because what lemaisa Rosh Chodesh is not as strong as Shabbos and Yom Tov, because it's not also b'siyas melacha. It's not forbidden b'melacha. Women don't do certain things, but a man goes to work. You're allowed to use your computer. You're allowed to use your phone. Rosh Chodesh, obviously. So maybe because Rosh Chodesh is not as holy as Shabbos and Yom Tov, it's lower level of kedusha. Maybe then Chazal were not metaken to mention it to Birkas Hamazon. Again, in davening we do. Also, davening is like musaf. In Rosh Chodesh, right? We have musafim. You have Yaaleh VeYavo. By the way, the reason why we say Yaaleh VeYavo, the Rishonim say over here in Retzei, because that's when we daven Hashem should return Beis Hamikdash. That's why Yaaleh VeYavo, we daven that Hashem should bring us back to korbanos. That's the connection. Yeah, let's say bring us back to the Chazena Inenu. We want the korbanos back. So what do we want? Yaaleh VeYavo. That's the right place. But right now, regarding benching is not korbanos. Maybe it's different. Rav Omar Mazkir. Rav says, yes, you have to mention Yaaleh VeYavo in benching. Rabbi Chanina Omar, Eina Mazkir. Rabbi Chanina says you don't have to mention the Yaaleh VeYavo in Birkas Hamazon in benching. Omar Rav Zrika now comes to support Rav. Nokit de Rav biyodcha. You should hold Rav's statement in your hand, which means you should choose Rav's opinion. Rav is right for saying that you do mention Yaaleh VeYavo in benching. How do you know? Why? The Kai Rabbi Yoshia Kavose. Rabbi Yoshia, you should know, Rabbi Yoshia and Rabbi Chia, they were the two, I would say, half of Amoraim, half Tanoim. They were like late Tanoim, early Amoraim. They were the masters of Brisas. Any Brisa mentioned by them is a certified Brisa. Like Rabbi with the Mishnah, they know the Brisas very well. Rabbi Yoshia is the Brisa man. And look, Rabbi Yoshia seems to be supporting Rav's opinion. that you do mention Birkas Hamazon, you do mention Yaaleh VeYavo, you add Yaaleh VeYavo in Birkas Hamazon. Where do we see that? The Tani Rabbi Yoshia says the Brisa of Rabbi Yoshia, Yamim sheyesh ben korban musaf, days in which Yibon Beis Hamikdash b'meira b'yameinu, we will have korban musaf, kigoin Rosh Chodesh, there's musaf on Rosh Chodesh, the Chula Shel Moed, right? Chol Moed, you have korbanos, of course, yeah. So what do you do then nowadays, or also in times of Beis Hamikdash? Arvis v'shachris u'mincha, all three davenings, Hispal Shmonesre, the Oimer Me'ena Me'oira ba'avoida. You mention Me'ena Me'oira, what we call Yaaleh VeYavo. You mention it, you insert it in the avoida. As we said before, the right place to put it is in the avoida, in the, yeah, Rashi says, Tefillah v'tachunim says, Tiknu v'boni Yerushalayim. Yeah, Lahashav Yisrael Yerushalayim. We want to return to Yerushalayim with the korbanos, and that's when we have to say it. If you forgot Yaaleh VeYavo, I mean, you really forgot. You got all the way and you step, yeah, you ready to get Yula Rotzen, ready for the second Yula Rotzen. Oh, what do? The whole davening again, the whole Shemon Esrei, don't forget this time, the Ein Ben Kedusha Ala Kois. On the other hand, there's no Kiddush on Rosh Chodesh on Chol HaMoed. Okay, you don't have to make Kiddush. You would have, you don't. Ad Kedei Kach, Chazal were not machmir. The Yesh Ben Hazkar B'Birkas Hamazon. Oh, this is what we underline. Yesh Bahen Hazkar B'Birkas Hamazon. You see black and white, exactly like Rav. That when it comes to Birkas Hamazon of Rosh Chodesh and Chol HaMoed, you mention Yaaleh VeYavo. That's the first part of the Brisa, and the honest truth is that's the part that we care about vis-a-vis Rav. We just brought a proof for Rav. The Brisa though continues with a lot of interesting information. The Brisa now continues to compare to a different group of Yomim Tovim, not Yomim Tovim, different types of days. Yomim she'en ben korban musaf, days in which there is no korban musaf. Kigoin sheni v'chamishi, Monday and Thursday there's no korban musaf. Soon we're going to see what it means. The ta'aniyos and the tainis there's no korban musaf. Now when we say tainis, the way we think about tainis is what? Yitzayim b'Tammuz, Tisha B'Av. It's not exactly, it's true, but it's not. Many times when the Mishnahs and Brisa say tainis, they refer to Tanios, and in times of the Mishnah, if you ever learned Mishnah's tainis, big part of it has to do with the Tanios that they would establish then, they would be goizer on the tzibur to go for tainis if it doesn't rain. Right? Let's say Cheshvan, the end of Cheshvan doesn't rain yet. They start a series of tainis, Monday, Thursday, Monday. They fast. And then if the rain doesn't come, they intensify more and more up until Nisan. Every time the tainis is more from the evening, then they close the shops and they don't do anything. Every time more and more and more, hoping for rain, and they take out the teva. So Lamaisa, there's a whole like series, like a serial of Tanias Sheni Chamishi V'Sheni. Ma'amodos. Ma'amodos are, you know what's Ma'amodos? Ma'amodos is, you know that the Kohanim were divided to 24 mishmoros, 24 groups. Each time a different group would go to Yerushalayim. That's the Kohanim. That's all very nice. What about us Israelim? We're supposed to stand over the Korban. Are we by the Korban? The guy's working in Be'er Sheva. The other one is learning in the Haifa. Oh, so the whole class, I don't know if the whole, there were groups of regular Israelim, not Kohanim. Half of them would daven in their own cities, and half of them would go to Yerushalayim to daven as a group, and they would fast on that week. Each one would have 1 week, yeah, like the Mishmos of Kohanim, 1 week in the winter, 1 in the summer, and they would fast Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Maybe at night they ate, but Monday day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. On Friday and Shabbos they didn't because of Shabbos. Not to come to Shabbos starving, and Sunday it's also to do with eating of Shabbos. Too much of a change, yeah. Lamaisa they fasted most of the week, and they would also read Kriyas HaTorah, Ma'aseh Bereshis. They would read the Kriyas HaTorah of the 6 days of creation and Shabbos. So on those days there is no Korban Musaf, and the Brisa is like in the middle of saying something about these days, and now the Brisa, the Gemara interrupts the Brisa. The Gemara is now interrupting the Brisa in the middle of a sentence, asking Sheni v'Chamishi Ma'ai v'Datayu. We're talking about special days. Monday and Thursday, there's nothing special about them. What do you mean Monday and Thursday? Why should I add or do, or it's a regular day? Ela, we're now rereading the Brisa. Sheni v'Chamishi v'Sheni shel Ta'aniyos, as I told you. Every Ta'anis would be like in a group of Monday, Thursday, Monday. That's the way they would mitaken it. Monday, Thursday, Monday, of a tainis. Let's say it doesn't rain, so BSD or goys are tainis. Ma'amodos, as we said, ma'amodos, when they come to Yerushalayim, what happens then? Arbis v'shachis u'mincha mispalel shmonesre. All three davenings, you say shmonesre, of course. The oimer me'ena me'oyer b'shomei tefillah. What's me'ena me'oyer? Like today, what do we say in the tainis? In the tainis today, also in shomei tefillah, we add a special tefillah, right? In shomei tefillah, anenu, right? We daven to Hashem about the tainis. We have that also. So B'Tevis, Yitzan B'Tamuz, V'chulei, Yetzom Gdalia, we add that. So during those, in Shmoneh Esrei, you add it in Shomei Tefillah. And that's halacha. If you forgot it in Shmoneh Esrei, you don't go back on those. This is a good halacha shiur, yeah? Even though it's not halacha shiur, but we have a lot of halachas here. The end ben is called B'Birkas Hamazon. And in Birkas Hamazon, you don't mention an einu. The question comes to mind, what? I thought that's a tainis, which Birkas Hamazon? So says Rashi, there are two Birkas Hamazons. First of all, Leil tainis is already tainis, but you still eat. One could argue and say, this is Leil Asol B'Tevis, you're allowed to eat. Leil Yitzan B'Tamuz, I can eat a whole Suda with bread, I eat more, to stock up for tomorrow. Maybe since Lamaisa it's a day of tainis, if you go by day, you start by night in Judaism. So maybe now we should really also say Anenu in Birkas Hamazon, that we're not metakir. Yeah, that wasn't established. Iboilahu, well, let's go back now to Chanukah. Iboilahu, back to Chanukah. Mal lazkir shel Chanukah b'musafin. Oh, that's an interesting lomdistic question over here. I'm davening Musaf on Chanukah. Do you daven Musaf on Chanukah? Yes or no? Tricky question. L'chorah no, ma piton. Every day of Chanukah there's Musaf? No. When do we say Musaf on Chanukah? At least twice. Rosh Chodesh and Shabbos. Right? Very good. So Musaf is something that happens to clash into Chanukah. But it's not really a Chanukah thing to say. Why? What's Musaf instead of? Korban Musaf. There was no Korban Musaf on Chanukah. Chachamim can't establish a Korban. You know the rule. They can't invent a Korban. So Chachamim invented Chanukah, established Chanukah. There's no Korban of Chanukah, and there's no Musaf of Chanukah. But sometimes, at least twice, Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh, it happens to merge that there's a Musaf in Chanukah. And that creates a very interesting Lomdisha question. Shall I or shall I not say Al Hanisim in Musaf? Davening Musaf or Rosh Chodesh, Tevis, Rosh Chodesh Tevis, which is on Chanukah. You are in Shabbos Chanukah, festive day, very nice. Do you or don't you say Al Hanisim? That's a question. What's the question? The Gemara explains. On one hand, Kema de Leis be Musaf bedidei. On Chanukah, there's no Musaf as of itself. Lamed Kerinan, Chanukah is not a Musaf day. Yeah, Chanukah doesn't cause the Musaf to come. So why should we mention Al Hanisim? It's an unwanted guest. It's not connected intrinsically. Oy Dilma, or maybe Yoim Hu Shechayv be'arba Tefilos. Maybe Lamaisa, this day, which happens to be in Chanukah, is Chayv on all four davenings. In other words, since you for sure say Al Hanisim, Shachris, Mincha, Ma'ariv, Musaf is the same. We standardize the whole day. In other words, do we say Al Hanisim because it's intrinsically connected, and it's not? Oh, Musaf is no. Musaf is not dafka because of Chanukah. Or do we say no? That's the way we daven today. Today, because all four davenings should be equalized, standardized, three davenings, we're not going to have the odd one out. That day is a Al Hanisim day. And therefore, we say Al Hanisim even on Musaf. That's a question. And it's a machlokes between four Amoraim. Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda, the Amrit Ravayu, Eino Mazkir. Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda say, both of them say, you don't have to mention, no chiyuv to mention Al Hanisim because it's not connected to Chanukah. It happens to be on Chanukah. Rav Nachman and Rav Yochanan, the Amrit Ravayu, Mazkir. Rav Nachman and Rav Yochanan say, yes, you do mention the Al Hanisim on Musaf because today you will say Al Hanisim. In theory, if you daven 10 times a day, you also say Al Hanisim. Amar Abaye, Rav Yosef. Abaye comes and tells Rav Yosef the following: Had Rav Huna Rav Yehuda, Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda that say you don't have to say Al Hanisim and Musaf, which is on Chanukah sometimes. The Rav who they really follow the opinion of Rav. They go very well with the logic of Rav in a different sugya. Let's compare now the Chanukah with Musaf, Al Hanisim, to another story in which 2 days happen to merge, and what happens then? And what did Rav say? The Amar of Gidol Amar Rav. Rav Gidol said on behalf of Rav, Rosh Chodesh shechal lios b'Shabbos. Oh, ever happened to you in life? Yeah, I think it does. Rosh Chodesh is on Shabbos. Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. Beautiful. The special Haftarah. There's Haftarah, of course. I'm naftir benovi b'Shabbos. It's Shabbos morning. There's a very nice Haftarah there. And the maftir, which says the brachas, einot tzorch lazkir shel Rosh Chodesh. He doesn't have to mention the Rosh Chodesh, Mekadesh Shabbos, to that. He doesn't say Rosh Chodesh. He doesn't mention Rosh Chodesh on in the bracha of the Haftarah of Shabbos. Why? Shilmol Shabbos ain't no Rosh Chodesh. We see again, if not for Shabbos, on a regular weekday Rosh Chodesh, is there Haftarah? Enlighten me. There isn't. Yeah, there's no Haftarah. Stam Rosh Chodesh, regular Rosh Chodesh. Yeah, Hallel, Musaf. There's no Haftarah. No Haftarah in Rosh Chodesh. Because Haftarah is not caused by Rosh Chodesh, it's not essentially connected to Rosh Chodesh. Therefore, even when we happen to clash and have Haftarah in Rosh Chodesh because it's Shabbos, we don't mention Rosh Chodesh. Same thing with Al Hanisim. Al Hanisim is the same. Because Al Hanisim doesn't cause, Chanukah doesn't cause Musaf, Al Hanisim will not be in Musaf. Says the Gemara, no, Midami, you're trying to make a shidduch between Ravuna and Rav, Lav Dafka. Hossam, it's not the same. Why? Hossam, Novi b'Rosh Chodesh leka klal. There's no haftarah in Rosh Chodesh whatsoever at all. No connection whatsoever. As opposed to our story of Chanukah Musaf, over here, Ise be'arvis v'shachis u'mincha. Over it's not the same as we said. When I have Shabbos Chanukah or Rosh Chodesh Chanukah, clearly 3 times, clearly, of course I have to say Al Hanisim because of the regular davening. Who cares if it's Shabbos or daytime? Who cares if it's Rosh Chodesh? Oh, Mimela, there's a tzad to say, add number 4 to make equalize all the davenings. The Shenken there's no Haftarah, there's no other Haftarah to equalize it with. There it's really odd one out. There it's really disconnected. There by Rosh Chodesh Shabbos happens to be a quirk, so to speak, the Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh together, Mimela there's Haftarah and Rosh Chodesh. But there is no other connection to Haftarah. Mashe'en ken by Chanukah, whether Shabbos or weekday, 8 days and nights, I'm supposed to say Al Hanisim, right? So Mimela Musaf is jumping on the bandwagon, and you also say then. In other words, we're not rejecting Rav Huna Rav Yehuda, but don't tell me that that's what Rav said. Rav spoke about a case where there's really no connection. Maybe Rav would agree here, Dafka, to Rav Yochanan, to the other opinion, right? Let's say Rav Yochanan of Nachman, you do say, because maybe here you have to standardize all 4 of them together. We're unclear. We did not prove it. Ella. And therefore now that allows us to continue. Ella lehodamya. If you want to compare our story of Al Hanisim in Musaf, you should compare it to the following case. The Omar Ravach Devui, Omar of Matna, Omar Rav. Oh, again, we are now trying to find support through Rav supporting, the one opinion of the Machlokas before. Yom Tov Shechal Yos b'Shabbos. Let's not get confused. It's Yom Tov and Shabbos together. It happens many times. Hamaftir ben Novi. You hear that? There's a Haftarah in the Novi. There's a Haftarah in the afternoon. Bemincha b'Shabbos. Ein tzorch lazkir shel Yom Tov. Wow. What does it mean? Rashi and Tosfos say, and that's brought down also later on in Shabbos and in Megillah. It says that in the times of the Romans, I think, in the times of even before Romans, they used to, in the Bavlim, I think, they used to read 10 psukim of the Ksuvim on Shabbos Mincha. Every Shabbos Mincha, they would read 10 psukim from the Ksuvim. And I want you to realize, today we do that too, but we don't read it from the Torah. Right? There are 10 psuki Tehillim, and some say 20. There are 2 Mizmor Tehillim. You're supposed to say, some do, some don't. In Gibraltar, where I lived, but the Sephardi community, they say it out loud. I don't know if in Israel they do too. They say, they say two kapitlach Tehillim. There was a siddur I would show you. אשר האיש, במצוותיו חפץ מאוד, גיבור בארץ יהיה זרעו, דור ישר מבורך, אחרון ואושר בביתו, וצדקתו עומדת לה, זרח מוחו אוכל הישרים, טוב איש חנם ולבך, על כן דבריו במשפט, כי לעולם לא ימות, לזך עולם יהיה צדיק, משמוע רע לא ירע, נכון ליבו בטוח בהשם, וכו'. B'kitzur, I think these are remnants of those things, of that old minhag. They canceled it because eventually I think the Persians, Rashi says, They made a gzera not to say this psukim, so they stopped it, and then they stopped it completely. But Lamaisa, back in the day, you don't say Shabbat Mincha. So then, Shabbos afternoon, there is Haftarah every Shabbos, Haftarah on the Novi, which is really ksuvim. Now it says Novi, but the Rashi says in the other places say ksuvim. Yeah, but Novi, but Tosis says ksuvim, and also in other places. In any event, let's just Shabbos and Yom Tov together, and you make the bracha. You don't mention the Yom Tov. You don't mention the Yom Tov on that day. Oh, wait a second. Why is that? Shilmol Shabbos ein Novi b'mincha b'Yom Tov. Oh, in other words, we say Yom Tov and Mincha laning of the Haftarah, they don't go together. So therefore, we don't mention no in the bracha. Here it's different because here we're not equalizing. Do you have Haftarah in the Novi in Yom Tov morning? Of course you do. In the morning you do, and in the afternoon you don't. So according to Rav, this business of let's equalize everything, whether it's intrinsically connected or not connected, we don't believe in it anymore. In other words, Rav seems to be supporting the opinion of Ravuna Rav Yehuda that say you can have 3 davenings with Al Hanisim and a 4th one Musaf without. We don't have to equalize all the Tefilos. Just like over there, he doesn't equalize the Haftarah of the Novi in the morning and Novi in the afternoon. Right? In the morning, we have Kriyas HaTorah and Haftarah and mentioning the Novi in the morning of Yom Tov, and yet afternoon of Shabbos and Yom Tov, because Yom Tov did not cause the Kriyas HaTorah of the afternoon, then you don't say the bracha. So you see Rav held like Ravuna Rav Yehuda. However, I know I'm already jumping to the next Amud, but we will continue a little bit. Zog the Gemara, I'm reading according to Rashi. Halacha is not, although there was a very nice support, we do not hold of Ravuna, Rav Yehuda, and Rav and all that. No. In other words, we do not say that you separate between the different Tefilos, but rather, Ela kihodam of Shimon Levi. Rabbi Shimon Levi says the halacha l'maisa at the end of the day, and he brings them from Yom Kippur, and then we'll compare it to Chanukah. Yom Kippurim shechal yos b'Shabbos. On a regular Shabbos, how many davenings do you have? Ma'ariv, Shachris, Musaf, Mincha. Did I miss something? On Yom Kippur, you have an extra one, Ne'ilah. Yom Kippurim shechal yos b'Shabbos. Mispal Ne'ilah. Does Ne'ilah come because of Shabbos? No. Sorech la'askir shel Shabbos. Upa. You see that although Shabbos does not bring Ne'ilah to the table, didn't cause a Ne'ilah, I mean to say, although that is so, you do mention you do mention the word Shabbos, Mekadesh Shabbos, Yom Zikaron, Yom Kippurim. You mention Mekadesh Shabbos, you mention it in Ne'ilah. You know why? Yom Ushin is Chayv ba'arba Tefilos besides Ma'ariv. The day of Shabbos and Yom Kippur is Chayv with 4 plus 1. The one who's missing here is Ma'ariv. Ma'ariv, Shachris, Musaf, Mincha, and Ne'ilah. We standardize, we make everybody equal, no playing favorites. And although one of the 5 is really Bechlal not connected to Shabbos, what does Ne'ilah have to do with Shabbos? It just happens to meet it in the street, happens to be there together. We still mention Shabbos, we still mention Shabbos in Ne'ilah, even though it's not connected. And the same would be regarding what? Regarding Musaf of Chanukah. If you have Musaf on Chanukah, which is Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh, you're right. There's no connection really between Chanukah and Musaf. There's no korbanos. But we make the same standard. Yeah, justice for all. American. Yeah, the same thing for everybody. And just like all davenings of Chanukah are with Al Hanisim, so to Musaf is with Al Hanisim. This is what we say up until now. I'm leaving you the rest tomorrow. Rav David, yeah, you ready? Right, Hashem. Tomorrow you'll have an upgrade. Rav David is giving shiur. Zoom people. Tomorrow Rav David is giving the shiur. You're not with Zoom, right? Okay. Sorry for the Zoom participants. No shiur. There is an amazing shiur tomorrow, but not on Zoom. So everyone should come here. Should fly from America. Thank you very much. Atzlacha v'bracha. Thank you very much in advance, and thank you to everybody who watches us on YouTube. Don't watch anything else. Just shiurim. Thank you. Atzlacha v'bracha. Bye bye. Yeah.